Hello chess friends and welcome to your out of chess channel and welcome to a spectacular game in an opening that we have not covered so many times here on my YouTube chess channel. Welcome to a beautiful game performed by Chess System Tal against Stockfish 16 in a wild Scotch opening. And Chess System Tal is a beautiful chess engine. We have introduced it already here on my YouTube chess channel. It's a powerful chess engine that's supposed to play like the legendary Mikhail Tal. It's supposed to play in a more direct, in a more aggressive tactical way. But of course, Stockfish is a similar chess engine. I think still the Stockfish engine is the most powerful tactical engine in the world. So we have now really collision between tactical monsters. Pay good attention what happened between Chess System Tal against Stockfish 16, as I said, in the wild Scotch opening. So with the white pieces, the Chess System Tal engine opened with move e4, e5 by the fish, knight to f3, knight to c6, d4, leads into the Scotch opening. C takes d, knight to f6 is the so-called Schmidt variation. The Schmidt variation is of course a direct attack against the pawn on e4, and many things can be played. For instance, f3 would not be so good because after bishop to c5 you could lose the battle on dark squares. In my opinion, not a good continuation here for white. You could of course try knight to c3, still I think a playable line for white. Leads into also very complicated line after bishop to b4, pinning the knight. Very often played also here by black. So that's why after move knight to f6, the Chess System Tal engine releases simply the pressure a little bit here in the center of the board. Plays now the move knight takes c6, and after move b takes c6, basically there are two things we have to say about this position for black. First of all, the pawn structure is messed up. We have a double pawn structure, which is of course a strategic disadvantage, but we have a possibility to maybe later hit the center with the move d5 and get some spaces in the center of the board. Again, I think two main lines I think are here for white to play bishop to c3 or knight to c3 protecting the pawn, or to play the so-called Mises variation with the move e5. In the game, bishop to d3 has been played by Chess System Tal, but let's see a little bit theory about this Mises variation. Very complicated also to play. Then you play something like queen to e7, hitting the pawn. After queen to e2, you get the knight out of this mess, and then after c4, bishop to a6, this position gets very complicated with many tensions, with many tactics all over the board. So here after move b takes c6, Chess System Tal play the move bishop to d3, connects now the bishop to the pawn. Stockfish hits now the center with the move d5, and again many options can be played. For instance, you try knight to c3, then bishop to b4 would be probably the best choice. After e takes d5, you can recapture it, or you can even be more aggressive and play kingside castling, because after something like d takes c6, we can immediately play a very unpleasant move, bishop to g4. If you cover yourself, then queen to e8, you cannot take because of the queen's activity. You play something like f3, rook to e8. Very tough to handle this particular line for white. Of course, white doesn't have to play the game like this. After bishop to g4, you can play queen to d2, but then again, rook to e8 complicates things. I think king to f1 has to be played. You have to lose the privilege of castling. You have two extra pawns, but I think it's very tough to handle this particular line. Then the main line would be something like knight to e4 for black, bishop to e4, bishop to c3, rook takes e4, queen takes, rook takes, and now black has a beautiful activity with the rooks. These are opposite color bishops, although again white has two extra pawns, but these are triple pawns on the c file. This wouldn't be, I think, such a huge advantage here for white. So that's why after move d5, here knight to c3 or the e takes d5 has not been played here by Chess System Tal. Chess System Tal played a very aggressive line, queen to e2, hitting simply indirectly, of course, the king on e8. Stockfish simply takes. We have d takes e4, and again two choices: knight to c3 can be played, or bishop to e4. Bishop to e4 is not so good, I think, because after knight to e4, queen to e4, queen to e7, and bishop to f5, you have many problems how to defend this pawn. If you play c3, then the b file gets opened, then we can attack the b2 pawn. You cannot move the bishop. Black has the bishop here, although this is a double pawn structure, but in my opinion, you want to get more, I think, with the white pieces. Although the engine gives you really equal chances for both sides, I still think that you want to get more with the white pieces out of this opening stage. So that's why after d takes e4, chess system Tal complicates things further with knight to c3. Stockfish pins the knight with bishop to b4. Here we have bishop takes e4 by chess system Tal. If you play something like bishop to g5, seems tempting, seems dangerous that you're pinning the knight that is controlling the e4 square. Actually, it's not so tough to handle, because after bishop to e4, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, and rook to e8, actually things are getting complicated for white. The e file is opened, you have to castle. Now we continue the pressure with bishop to f5. I see also in this line one beautiful game in which black won the game in this particular line against white. So in my opinion, also not a good continuation for white. So that's why after move bishop to b4, chess system Tal took bishop takes e4. If again threatens some discovered checks against the king. So that's why Stockfish castles bishop to e4, and now we have bishop takes c6. Seems dangerous. The rook is hanging. You cannot play rook to e8. You lost the pawn, but Stockfish calculated this position in a good way. Played now rook to b8. We have kingside castling by chess system Tal, and now a beautiful move, queen to d6. That's actually not allowing here white to retreat on a good square. Actually, black is attacking the bishop, and white has to retreat actually here to b5, which is a huge problem. You see now why. For instance, if you try here bishop to f3, then bishop to a6 is, I think, immediately even winning the game. You lose the exchange, I think, in this open game. This is simply enough. If you play bishop to e4, then rook to e8, again very dangerous. You cannot after bishop to a6 cover yourself anymore with bishop to d3 because of the tensions here on the e file. The knight is hanging, the knight is protecting the bishop on e4, so simply too much tension here against white. So that's why after move queen to d6, white has to play bishop to b5, but now a beautiful move here by the fish, knight to g4, threatening immediately checkmate, which forces basically a reaction by white to play the move g3. This move g3 is covering the dark square diagonal, but we have to say it opens also the light squares in front of a white king, which makes, I think, the next couple of moves really understandable here for black, because after bishop to c3, b takes c3, now Stockfish continues with the attack, knight to e5, tries dangerous checks like bishop to b7, and then maybe knight to f3. Seems very dangerous to handle here for white. We have here bishop to f4. Chess system Tal is not allowing this scenario. Pins now the knight on e5, and Stockfish plays now a beautiful rook takes b5. Sacrifices the exchange, which makes, I think, here white's life really hard, especially on light squares. As I said, Stockfish gave up the rook for the bishop, but creates now new madness all over the board, especially on this light square diagonal. From this point on, the game is very complicated here to defend for black. For white, pardon me. We have rook to b5, queen to b5, knight to f3, hitting the king. We have king to g2, and now queen to e6. Stunning move here by Stockfish 16. For instance, if you play here king to f3, then we have this one, bishop to d7. You have to now play something like queen to e5. Now we deliver a check, and after king to e2, the problem is now you get this one, rook to e8. Actually, this is even playable. I see 2 games in the database in which black and white played a draw in this particular line. Okay, white lost the queen, but has 2 rooks, of course, for the queen. But still, I kind of don't like this light square problems. The bishop will eventually come into the game. Many weaknesses in the position. Tough quest again for white, I think, here to defend this position. But okay, after move queen to e6, chess system Tal did not take the knight on f3 because of this tactics. Chess system Tal played rook to d1. Stockfish continues with c6. We have queen to a4, and now knight to h4. Very stunning move. If you play here g takes h4, then the queen is coming here on g4, then with queen to f3, rook to d3 will deliver a check, and now we can grab also here the rook on a1, I think, Again, a good continuation here for white. The king is naked, the bishop is coming into the game, the rook is coming into the game. Very, very tough again to defend this position for white. I see also in this particular position one game in the database in which only black won the game. So here after knight to h4 we have king to g1. Stockfish continues with knight to f3, knight to h4, repeats moves. Maybe it cannot calculate this position immediately, but now plays this decisive idea with queen to f3, which queen to h3, pardon me, which leads basically into a similar tactical sequence as we have seen before, because after g takes h4, a new check, again queen to f3 with the idea to play here bishop to a6, so that's why rook to d3, and now we have a similar position. You see basically white cannot escape from this tactical sequence here by black. After queen to a1 we have queen to e4. Stockfish continues with the check, bishop to g4 f3, forced move here by white, but still these are opposite color bishops, but I would not love to play this game with the white pieces, especially with the king in the center. There are always maybe some threats of rook to e8, maybe not immediately, but in the later stage of the game this could be very, very dangerous. Stockfish continues with bishop to e6. We have a3, bishop to d5, queen to d4, and now queen to a2. Stockfish continues the pressure here against the pawn on c2, against also the pawn on a3. This pawn is weak, the king is, as I said, always naked, so very, very tough position to defend for white. We have now king to f2. Stockfish continues with queen takes c2. We have rook to d2, and now queen to f5. Stockfish continues the pressure on light squares. We have c4 attacking the bishop, bishop to e6, queen to e4. Of course, Stockfish does not want to trade off the queens, because Stockfish is on the attacking side, and when you're on the attacking side you don't want to simplify, of course, the game for your opponent. We have a queen to d4, we have a queen to h5, bishop to d6, and now a rook to d8, pinning now the bishop against the queen. The bishop is a little bit paralyzed on the square. We have c5 fixing the bishop. Stockfish continues with king to h8, gets out of this maybe here problems on dark squares. So also wants, of course, maybe to push the pawns further. f6, for instance, is an opportunity maybe to cover, or maybe even to somehow try to open the g file, include a new attacker into the game. We have queen to e4. Stockfish continues with h6, rook to e2, and now bishop to h3. Stockfish is preparing slowly a dangerous attack. The problem about the queen is that the queen is always stuck to the defense of the pawn on h4. If you move the queen, maybe queen to c6, then queen to h4, very, very dangerous to handle. You can maybe cover with the bishop, but then queen to d4 is going to happen. So again, many tactical problems here for white. We have rook to e1, f6, rook to e1, and now after rook to e8, an attack against the queen. Very, very great how Stockfish connected everything here. Now comes this tactical sequence that we have talked about. Queen takes c4 here by queen takes c6 here by chess system Tal, which of course gives here Stockfish an opportunity to pick up the pawn. But even if you play something else, if you play here queen to c4, this wouldn't be so good because of this line. Bishop to c8, getting the bishop on a better square. We have rook to d2, and now bishop to e6, attack the queen. We can always chase the queen, and again, many problems here to handle. Maybe you can try something like a rook to e2, rook takes e2, and now queen to b7. Although the game is a little bit more simplified, again, I think white has a tough time, especially when the queen is coming on the second rank. So again, not a good continuation, I think, here for white. So after rook to e8, Stockfish did not want to take the and queen to c6. Stockfish did not want to take the pawn immediately on h4. Plays now a beautiful move, queen to g6. Is attacking also now the g2 weakness. Chess system Tal has now to defense, and again Stockfish gets the queen on the second rank. Again, the king is exposed. Very tough to defend. And again, king to g3. Now beautiful move, rook to e2, sacrificing simply the bishop, but now the queen is coming with a check. We have king to g3 by chess system Tal. Stockfish delivers a new check and now simply grabs the rook. So Stockfish won this exchange in a beautiful tactical sequence. We have queen to c8 check. We have now queen to g6. Good move here by Stockfish, covering everything. We have h5 here, chess system Tal forced. trades of queens. But now a beautiful move here by Stockfish, king to g8, because this pawn is very, very dangerous to stop. So that's why after move c6, Stockfish goes behind. We have now the move c7. Now the king is close enough to the action. We have h3, and now after move a5, h4, we have a4 here by Stockfish, keeping of course the pawns on light squares where they cannot be attacked by the dark square bishop. We have bishop to h2, and now rook to c5. Again, a very important check, which makes of course white king to step back here on the 4th rank. We have king to e7, getting the king closer, and now after rook to c6, bishop to g3, now finally the king can stop the potential promotion on c8, and now the rook is playing much more freely. This rook will of course attack all of the pawns all over the board. Many weaknesses, many weak pawns there for black to attack. So in my opinion, from this point on, very game over here for white. We have bishop to h2. Stockfish goes for his pawns, especially first of all for this one. Here, chess system Tal tried to defend his position, of course, in a tactical way. If you pick up the bishop, then we have a promotion. But Stockfish first of all plays this one, and now after rook to d3, we have c8. Now king takes c8, and this was game over. King to c6, rook to f3. Stockfish is grabbing now all of these pawns. We have now new check, and now after move f5, in this particular position, chess system Tal resigns. So there's nothing that can be done. Two pawns are marching. The rook is of course a very flexible piece, will stop also this pawn. So great win here by Stockfish 16 with the black pieces. So great game, great spectacular, I think, Schmidt variation of the Scotch Opening. This is the way to go. We will cover, I think, in the near future more Scotch Opening games, which is very important, because the Scotch Opening is a direct approach by white to maybe search for clarification in the center of the board. But Stockfish showed here really an interesting defense, especially with this exchange sacrifice when chess system Tal played the move g3 and weakened the structure in front of its own king. So Stockfish sacrificed the exchange, exploited the light square weaknesses. In my opinion, very instructive win here by Stockfish 16. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. If you want to see more Scotch Opening games here on my YouTube chess channel, check out our coverage of some games so far. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you want to see more ultra aggressive chess games played by Stockfish 16, but also by some other top engines, check out our commented chess games played by computer series. Here's also the link, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.